We're just all right. So we're live, and it is June 5th. And for our listeners, if you guys would take the time to just go to our YouTube channel, Rolland Brothers Market Mashup, links in my Instagram bio. Same with
Rolland Market Mashup. That's
Rolland Market Mashup.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if Jeff changed it. So yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would really appreciate it. And also, if you guys are liking this, share it with a friend, share it with a family member. We have about 200 people watching this a week. We're trying to get more. We're trying to get Bob on TV here.
We've had a couple requests too for a weekly newsletter, so something might be brewing here.
Something is brewing. We're working on it. But in the meantime, seriously, if you guys like what we're doing, we would really appreciate to, share it, let some people know about it. We're going to keep doing this. So quick recap of yesterday. Obviously, it looks like the market is set to open higher. We had some home run picks on the show yesterday, which continues to be a trend for us. So Bob with Saber and Plug, which both popped yesterday in a big way. And then Liberty Media has been acting well. Let's start with Saber and Plug, which, again, had two massive pops. What are we doing today? Do we like them going higher? Are you selling some? Talk to us, Dad.
Well, Saber's trading 980 bid right now, so it's up huge. And, if you bought it yesterday, just sell into strength and leave a little bit. Maybe this stock does run for a few days, but it's definitely following the airlines. The airlines are up again, and these things have been on a tremendous run, and you never know when it's going to stop. So,
do you think, though, there's a chance these riots actually help the airlines gain more momentum, where if we're not seeing an uptick in cases, it's leading to things opening way sooner and people being more comfortable in crowds?
Well, I mean, if you listen to the experts on the virus, they say you will see an uptick in cases when it takes 5 to 10 days. I know you don't believe that. But if you look at what's going on in the South, I mean, South Carolina, I think, had one of its highest days ever of new cases.
Meanwhile, Georgia's had no uptick. I don't buy it personally. I'm hearing Fauci saying now they need to make sure students are back in the fall. They have to open up schools. This whole thing, I'm not even seeing masks around New York City mostly. Since these protests started, it seems like everyone said, fuck it. So I don't know what – it just makes me like the airlines a bit more to come back to reality.
One positive on the airlines, I was listening to Barry Diller this morning, and he said the airlines are – the airflow in them is safer than it's ever been before, and it's not that bad to be in an airplane with the air. And I think that's a misconception on a lot of people. They think the air is bad.
And to add to that, I think a good way to look at it, and I think a way you've taught us to always look at stocks in general, is for our listeners out there, just think about how you're feeling toward air traffic. If you're getting to the point where you're starting to become confident enough to get on a flight, that might be a telling sign that a lot of your peers and other people in the world are feeling the same way. So that's kind of how I've been looking at the airlines. I'm slowly building up confidence where I'm going to be getting on a flight in June to go back to Colorado for a few days. So I think there's a lot of people that have that same mindset. I think something important to look at here is it'll be interesting to see what happens with Slack. So Slack reported earnings yesterday. Earnings, but they are getting crushed right now with their stock. And a lot of that might be because they didn't really show an increase in guidance like Zoom did. And I know a lot of companies, a lot of people are looking at these technology stay-at-home companies the same way, where there's so much built into perfection that if they're not only blowing it out, but talking a big game in the future, it might hurt their stock. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, does Slack have some sort of rally today, or are people just exhausted from the stay-at-home stock? I know you shorted Zoom. Great call. That was down nice yesterday. Are you going to keep that short open?
I am going to keep it open. The stock's down again today, another $3 so far. I mean, when you look at the chart, maybe it gets down to 190 on this move, but it's a dangerous short. And I put on a very small amount because I don't want to take that much risk. And I think the stay-at-home stocks are in trouble until a state somewhere out there says we're going to close up again. And I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it. I think Chewy is something we should keep our eye on with stay-at-home stocks that aren't really a normal stay-at-home stock. People love their pets. If anything, this has put them. They have their earnings next week. I was talking to Dan about it last night. I'm expecting them to blow out earnings.
Wow. While we're talking, unemployment rate just came out much better than expected. The market's up 500 now.
So
I didn't even think anyone cared about
that. Can we have a second here, Dad? Can you break down the difference between Wall Street and reality right now? Because it seems like there's a major disconnect. I've never, in my 33 years on Earth, felt more unrest in our country, and yet we're almost back to record highs in the market.
Look, I mean, no one can explain exactly what's going on, but one thing you know is perception on Wall Street leads the way. And if someone told you 3 months ago that the unemployment rate would be like 13.5%, they would say, are you kidding? The market would be down to zero. And the fact that it comes out and, you know, people react, oh, this is great news. That's the market perception. If they expect something and it comes out better, the market goes up. And the market is up, and we've talked about it, is the liquidity. $5 trillion in money markets, the Fed doing everything they can to boost things up. The rest of the world.
And now they're talking about a new stimulus package here.
Yeah, and people are bearish. Everyone you talk to says, I'm not buying this market. If they were bullish, then it would be a bigger concern.
I will say there does seem to be a shift in the bearish narrative where it almost seems like the big personalities on TV now are almost saying, yeah, it looks like a V shape in the economy as far as the stock market goes. Real world's a different story, but the market's telling us V shape. The market's telling us V shape.
The rich get richer.
The last few days, the narrative is starting to be very, very one-sided and a little less bearish in terms of just no one's making any sense of it. They're all like, this is ridiculous. But I think that is kind of a little shift that's happening that makes me a little worried. The other thing that I think that I'm reading a lot about that I think is happening that's important to bring up on here, it seems like there's somewhat of a bubble being formed around these speculative stocks, these small cap stocks that people are trying to guess. It's basically like being in a casino. If you see what's happening yesterday, there were 500 million shares traded just between Hertz and Luckin Coffee. Hertz filed for bankruptcy a couple of weeks ago. Luckin Coffee is a Chinese coffee company that came out as a fraud. So the fact that there's 500 million shares trading between a company that's going bankrupt and a company that has reported fraud shows that there's a lot of people out there that are straight up gambling. And then if you look at Genius Brands, which we brought up a couple days ago as just an example of one of these stocks, yesterday, that stock went from being up 40% to then being down 40%, all in one session. They obviously did a stock offering at, I think, $2 a share that came out when the stock was at $8 a share. So I think there's a lot of people right now that are trying to get rich on these small names. And, you know, that's a recipe to get absolutely burned. But I wonder if the normal companies, the Apples, Facebooks of the world, are almost in a land of their own. And if there's going to be a crash, it's going to be a crash on these stocks that everyone's trying to gamble on and get rich on, like these small cap, almost penny stocks, if you will.
No, I mean, Dan, you're right on with that. When people start making money in everything, it's a casino. And it spreads. You know, the taxi drivers talk about it. The problem is no one's taking taxis. So maybe they're not talking about it.
They're just buying stocks.
So it is something that's going to come to an end. And the way to play that is to not get caught up in the tips and rumors and stick with names that are real. And there's plenty of money to be made in those. I mean, Mike, Delta Airlines, what a move.
You like that?
Shocking. And
I'll take it.
any of the airlines. Every move the airlines had, it's just incredible.
Yeah, that option's not
but-
looking awful anymore.
But there will be a day, and I don't know when, to maybe today, Monday, Tuesday, where these airlines are going to be down in one day 15%, just because enough is enough.
Mhm.
And the way to play that is to take profits, leave some, but take profits. You
Well, like
can't
I sold Boeing
let it
at its
ride.
high yesterday at 186.20.
Yeah.
I got rid of 50 shares there.
Yeah,
So,
and Boeing today, who would have thought a week ago is trading near 200.
Is it really?
Yeah, 198.70 right now.
Man, I should have waited on that.
Boeing is
Yeah.
unbelievable. What a
Yeah.
run. I mean,
And
we called that running.
That's a real company. You don't have to play these Hertz, going out of business sale. It does,
It doesn't make any sense that people are doing that. And again, Dad, you put your own personal buy rating on Boeing at 135 and predicted this uptick. I'll tell you, anyone that's been following along, if you've been going with the stocks we've been putting out on the show,
You're making a lot of money. We've all been pretty
You're
dead
making
on.
a lot of money. I'm also going to bring up Broadcom, which had its earnings last night. I brought them up on here 2 weeks ago when they were hovering around 300. They had a dominant quarter. Their stock looks like it's going to open higher, and that stock looks like it's trying to trend to new levels and get into that 330 level. We'll see if it actually happens. I got an interesting thing for you guys. I brought it up to Mike last night. So I have a subscription to this site that allows you to follow insider activity. That's where I saw that Warren Buffett bought that Liberty Media company and jumped on that. Since then, it's good. I do want to point out that a lot of the times when you see insider activity, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. A lot of times there's insider executives that are just buying on a specific schedule. So if you look back, you could look at all the times that they've bought or sold their stock, and 80% of the time it doesn't mean anything. But last night I saw insider activity over the last 2 days in HP Inc., which is one of the Hewlett-Packard companies, and the actual ticker is HPQ. And here's what's going on with that. So the CEO just bought the stock for the first time in his life. The last 8 insider transactions with the CEO were all sales. And another executive also who has a great track record for the stock going up around 60% in the 2 years following when they load up, also loaded up at the same time. So in the last 2 days, you have 2 big time insider buys at HPQ. Now, I bought a little pre-market. Here's a couple reasons that I love it. First off, I don't know if you guys remember a few months ago, Xerox tried buying them for $24 a share. And at first it was $22 a share. And they said no, they thought it wasn't enough. Then they went up to $24 a share. And then they still said no. They said they were being undervalued. Now the stock's trading under $17 a share. And you see all this insider activity. I'm bullish on it. I'm buying the stock. It's at a PE of under 10. And I love the fact that the CEO is loading up for the first time ever after making positive comments on their last earning call. So that's something to look at for, and something that I hope pans out. HPQ.
I mean, Dan, you know where I was talking to you about last week with home office and the future of 3D printing. And you have to think they're at the helm there with being able to be at the forefront, even if they have to make a strategic acquisition. Like, you have these Form Lab type companies like Leon's cousin runs that he founded. 3D printing is coming. And now with the shift in office culture, people working from home, that's definitely an interesting value play. And it should be a great growth stock heading forward. So I might jump on that as well this morning. I'll tell you what I'm loving this to look at, guys, today is Nike. I think they've handled this whole protest, riot, looting thing better than any brand. As always, they're marketing geniuses, combined with the fact that you have a running boom popping, everyone's stir crazy, trying to be active. At some point we're going to have the Olympics with Tokyo. They have a new running shoe that's being released that's on another level with tech, with something in the the bottom of the shoes, giving it more spring. I'm loving Nike here. I think they're due for a run. And when you think about a staple stock that is in front of the narrative and is being looked at, their social media engagement's gone through the roof since their campaign they rolled out a few days ago. And I think they're going to be reaping the benefits with a lot of new customers from this.
So, Dad, give us your take on first HPQ and then Nike.
HPQ looks terrific on the charts. I mean, it's up already today about 50 cents. Nike's had a huge run. It's actually testing the old highs, which is 105.62. I almost feel like I would wait to see if it can get through the old highs before buying it.
It's going to.
Because sometimes it'll run into some issues right here. It's at 103.4 now. It's up.
I think we're heading into Nike like territory when you think about the time of the year, what's happening.
Yeah,
and I think this
you could be right. You could be right. The fundamentals may overtake the technicals easily.
Well, and the times.
They win out.
I think the narrative on what's going on in the world helps them.
Yeah. Look, technicals are only good for until they don't work.
Well, let's also be real, guys. How many people that have been out protesting, you need to be active, walking on your feet a lot.
Well,
you don't know how many people bought Nike shoes throughout this.
No, they didn't buy them. They stole them. That's the problem.
Well, speaking of selling, how about car? Look at car pre-market, guys. The car auctioning stock.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's hitting a new wave here. Up huge.
And that's KAR. That's KAR, not CAR.
CAR, by the way, Mike, when you mentioned car, this is before we started this, you could have been okay buying the wrong one because CAR, which is Avis, went up probably more than KAR because of the Hertz bankruptcy.
Well, that's for now. Give KAR a bit more time. I think it's going to beat.
No, but KAR was a great choice, and the chart looks terrific also. It looks like it could run to 20.
Guys, what do you think? I was talking to Dan about this last night, Dad. The company OLED, the screen maker on all the iPhones, their chart's looking appealing right now. OLED.
OLED.
And while Dad looks that up, I'm going to say the Dow right now looks like it's trying to open almost up 600 points, which
beautiful
is insane when you look at the run.
Give me a couple more weeks of this. I'll go retire and buy.
Well, yeah, this is the kind of day, though, it opens up, and that might be it for the day. So be careful. I'd be real hesitant to buy anything on the opening.
Dad, Alcoa, how much more is that running?
Well, let's take a look. First of all, you mentioned this OLED on the chart. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. I'm going to be buying OLED today. That's my stock, by the way, folks.
Maybe a move to 170-ish. And what's the one you wanted me to look at just now?
No, I think it was OLED. That's what we're looking at. Pretty.
It's a good one.
It's funny because it seems like, and I don't know if this is just because of where we're at in the market, but can we try and find a chart that doesn't look good right now? It seems like every company.
You know what? That is one of the reasons the market is doing as well as it is. There are a lot of stocks that all broke out at the same time. And there's so many people charting right now that they're all jumping on the bandwagon. That's not going to work for long, believe me.
Yeah, like Alcoa has run up so much this week. Would you get out of that today?
That's the one you just asked me about. Alcoa is trading right now at 12.45, and it to me looks like it has room to about 13.80 on the chart.
That's where you're getting out.
Well, that 13.70 to 80 right in there. It runs into some resistance. But I'm selling a little bit every day.
See, that's a stock, though, I would never have touched if it wasn't for you. I'm up huge on it. If it goes up a little more, you'll never see me in that again. So I'm not,
Until there's another situation, right?
Exactly. But that's not a stock I'm holding long term. I'll pick my spots with you on that.
Yeah, no one's asking you to hold it long term. It's a trade.
AA. How about AB now that we're in the alphabet?
What's AB?
Seriously, AB. Look up the ticker.
I mean, look, with Bob's fedora hat, Any stock right now looks like it could possibly go on a run. What is AB though?
I don't know.
I mean,
Mike seemed to disappear on that because he ran to buy it. I don't know. I don't know what AB is. Alliance Bernstein Holdings. It must be some type of mutual fund holding company, but yeah, it looked okay. It's too late on that one.
So what are your thoughts on Slack here at the open? I was thinking maybe of just trying to do a little day trade and all right, they open, let's say down 18%. Is there a point in the day where they're going to only be down 12? I decided ultimately I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really followed it enough. I'm always wary of, something that's down huge to try to pick the bottom because selling brings out selling, just like the buyers bring out the buyers. And, once people start jumping on the bandwagon, it could get worse.
Got to be a contrarian. I don't like bandwagons unless I'm starting it.
Right. Well, that's why Zoom is interesting because if enough people say, wow, the earnings were great and the stock is down, what's going on? Eventually, the people that own this thing at 100 or whatever are going to just say.
I don't like Zoom at all. I don't like their platform. I hate it.
Well, that's interesting you say that because that kind of brings up Slack again because Slack is obviously this good tool for remote companies, but our company switched from Slack to River, which is a free version of Slack, not owned by Slack, and I can't really tell a difference.
And
so
Dan, I think that sums up why Slack long-term is not that sexy. Like, what is it that makes them so great?
I mean, look, I do think they had incredible earnings. They formed a partnership with Amazon. Amazon has all their employees now using Slack for the next few years. I look at Slack as a company that'll probably get acquired by a Microsoft on the road or maybe even an Amazon. Microsoft's been trying to undercut them and do like a free service. And I don't think it's quite going as well as they wanted it to go. So then you look at Slack, who isn't doing a free service, and they have 995 companies, I believe, that are paying them over $100,000 a year for their service. That's some metric that they really are the company for Fortune 500 companies for using the whole stay-at-home streamlining work, even not stay-at-home. I mean, we were on Slack way before we were doing stay-at-home stuff.
But we're not on it anymore. So that's my cause of concern there.
We're not on it anymore, but I will say that there are things about Slack that make it still a much better platform than River, even though it costs more. I think for a company of our size, when you're talking about under 10 employees, you don't necessarily need that next level platform. I just look at Slack as a company that almost responded to the earnings leading up to the earnings. And that's where it's like they already had the growth. And then when the earnings came out, and that's my biggest fear with Chewy, as you look at what it's starting to do, it's basically acting like it's going to have blowout earnings.
Well, so that's why I'm not buying it into earnings unless it falls back a little. That's why I was telling you I think it's going to run up 10 to 15% after earnings as long as it doesn't go up anymore right now.
I just sold a 500 Sabre at 10.5.
Jesus Christ, the stock is out of control right now.
I might just get out of that completely. I mean, talk about time is money. A quick buck within 24 hours, I'll take it. I've never even heard of that company this time yesterday.
Yeah, Sam. I ended up I bought a pretty decent amount for the trade yesterday, and then I sold off about 85% of it and now have, a pretty modest position that I figured I'd let ride out for at least a little bit. Back to Plug. I know Plug got 2 price up target upgrades yesterday, one at 7, one at 6. Which
it broke through that resistance Dad was talking about. We can't sell Plug now.
Yeah, well, Plug got as high as 535 pre-market. My next level on that is take the first price target of 6, so somewhere right below that.
Yeah,
which gives it a ton of room if it's going to make a play up to 6.
Yeah,
tell him to keep throwing these 4-letter stock symbols at us.
Yeah, he gets them only once in a while,
Well, hey, that once in a while is enough if you hit big like that.
His timing is really not great, though.
What are we thinking for our? I mean, we've kind of already said our picks of the day. I'm gonna re-emphasize that my pick of the day, and I don't necessarily know if it's my pick of the day, but it's my pick of the next month. I'm going with HPQ. I'm riding with the CEO and the other executive. I like the fact that, and I kind of forgot that they turned down the Xerox offer for $24 a share. That to me is everything you need to know there. So I'm riding with HPQ. I bought a little pre-market, and I'm hoping that it starts to trend up.
Yeah, I like that pick, Dan. It makes sense. It's a very interesting pick. I'm just gonna be real defensive today. I'm not buying any of these crazy names. I bought some Merck yesterday late to add to a position, and I'm thinking drug stocks again, just to stay away from this frenzy and sell into this drain. So it's a safe place for me to be. If the market takes a turn south, they'll go to the drug stocks, which is what they usually do.
So real quick, Mike, before you even comment on that, yeah, when you're looking at the drug stocks, do you look at that like if there's a big sell-off, the drug stocks would be up that day? I mean, why are they safe from a sell-off?
Yeah, I mean, basically what people think is that they're recession-proof, and historically. So the drug stocks and the utilities are usually an area that people are comfortable to be in when the rest of the market is crapping out.
Gotcha.
This has been such a crazy run. So if the market does crap out, you may also get another lift in the stay-at-home stocks, but I don't think so. I think it's different now. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, and Mike, before you give your pick, everyone, if you remember, we were big on Costco. Look at Costco. It's starting to break out. It might be breaking out for similar reasons that Bob just said, where if we do actually go into a recession, that's a recession-proof stock. They gained a lot of new members, and they're obviously a membership type of this. But Costco's starting to look really good. I called for it for a 330 breakout. Looks like it's on its way.
And I'm going to buy Nike here. I'm thinking we're going to see all-time highs with I'm going to bank on these guys getting a lot of loyalty with the Black Lives Matter movement, with how they've handled it. And I think people are stir crazy to be out and about, and they're going to be major winners coming out of this. So I'll be buying Nike this morning here at the open. And Dan, I'll be buying that HPQ with you as well, because you know my thoughts on the home office shift. So I'm with you on that completely.
One thing we haven't mentioned today, the gaming stocks, which we talk about almost every day. To sum up, Penn, I've never seen anything like this in my life, where I stupidly bought Penn like 32 in, I don't know, March, February, and sat there like a dummy watching it go down to 3-3.
That happened to me too. That's when I initially got in.
Just absolutely stunned watching this thing go down every single day, thinking this is too far, it's gone too far. And then when it got below 9, you start saying, okay, it's out of business. At this point, it's a call on the company existing. I'm not going to sell it. And it goes down to 3 3/4. So on the way up, I bought some like you guys did. And now the stock is back above where I bought it in March. It's almost an all-time high. It's astounding.
It's absolutely unbelievable. I think a lot of it is it's got to be the Barstool effect and just everything happening with all the Robin Hood traders, the Dave Portnoy effect. I mean, everything that's happening with Penn is just insane. And to add to that,
actually, it just hit a 52-week high. It's over 30.
There you go.
I'm gonna wait to get back in gaming until there's a pullback in the market, because I think
Mike, you've been saying that Penn 6.
What's that?
You've been saying that since Penn was at 26. Now it's at 40.
Making good money in and out of Penn and DraftKings. I'm talking about going ham on those stocks. I'm waiting to be a long-term holder until we have some wind let out of these sales, because it's coming. I can guarantee you
win.
shit hitting the fan in gaming.
Stevie win over 100 now. That stock was down to 35 at the lowest. Now these casinos reopened at a fraction of what they normally would have as traffic, but it's going to pick
Well,
up.
that's what they're talking about. Let's see this capacity talk. We're going to hear that narrative being gone very quickly here when everyone sees there's no virus upticks from all these.
That's a big if. On that note,
well, I mean, let's see it.
All right, well, that's our 30 minutes, guys. Let's make some money today and hopefully close out the week strong. Thanks for watching. And again, if you like what we're doing here, share it with a friend, a family member. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and
go
reach
buy
out
some
to
Nike shoes while you're at it.
And make a lot of money.
Make a lot of money. That's why we're trying to do this. See you guys later.